All right, so here's a video that Secular Talk Kyle Kalinske put up 11 days ago. As you can see, it already has over 100,000 views on YouTube, titled Marianne Williamson Checkmates Fox News host. Let's check it out.
President, and she's making the rounds, doing interviews everywhere that she can.
Yeah, so Marianne Williamson, I guess, announced that she's running for president as a Democrat against presumably an incumbent Democrat, Joe Biden. And I think a lot of people, the more loony and goony types on the so-called political left, they seem to be the only ones paying attention.
Everywhere that she can. By the way, CNN has yet to reach out for an interview with her.
Oh, no.
My understanding is that every other outlet has. I think some more than others, right? Like, it's not like MSNBC is knocking down her door every day, but she's been on, once or twice or whatever on some of the shows that don't get as good ratings, although none really get good ratings on MSNBC, to be fair. But CNN is just, there might be a directive from the top, like, don't you dare talk to her. Which, by the way, again, what happened, guys? I thought you're supposed to, we're the neutral people, we're the objective people, we do real news over here. Well, here you have somebody running for president, and you're not paying them any attention whatsoever. Why? You know the answer. Because they want Biden to win. They don't want to breathe
They don't want to pay them any attention.
Any air into Marianne Williamson's campaign, so they're just ignoring her. They're just ignoring her. They're being totally indifferent to her. So they shouldn't do that. They should change that. And also, by the way, Joe Biden should be forced to debate Marianne Williamson. I think honestly, I think there should be a law.
Forced to debate Marianne Williamson.
A law.
There should be a law
that if somebody's challenging a president or for having an election, it should be mandated by law that there are debates.
Mandated by law that what? They debate every crazy that decides to run for president? By the way, wasn't she on the debate stage in some of the 2020 debates? I think she was.
Because it's very important the American people hear the different perspectives. Anyway, I digress. So she went on Fox News. She's going to talk to Neil Cavuto here. Now, Neil Cavuto is definitely a conservative ideologue, but he's one of the less hacky pundits. So, for example, I don't think he ever fed into the rigged election conspiracy theories because he thought it was total BS. There are times where he's disagreed with Trump and done it publicly and gotten a lot of crap from his audience as a result of it. So he's a conservative ideologue, but he is more authentic than most of the hosts there, as we learned from the Dominion secret text message.
All right, in all fairness to Secular Talk, I'm Googling I'm searching on YouTube in the background to see if CNN really has not done anything about Marianne Williamson. And it looks like they have not. I'm seeing NBC News put up a video of her launching her campaign. Other ABC News looks like talked to her, so I guess CNN is not the only one. Or I guess CNN is the only one.
Message leaks where Tucker and Hannity and Ingram were like, we know this is BS, but we're going to feed into the audience delusions. So Marianne Williamson talks to Neil Cavuto, and Neil Cavuto hits her with the classic line. Excuse me, you have all these ideas and plans. How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it?
This is the policy wonk, by the way.
How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it?
This guy has big plans, but can never explain how you're going to pay for them.
How are you going to pay for it?
Just mocks it off as if it's not a concern how much Americans' tax dollars might go up to pay for his wonderful plans. Or what impact they might have on the economy. Yeah, real brilliant stuff here.
How many times have we heard this? When Bernie ran, we heard it roughly every 7 seconds. You want to do good things, bro? How you going to pay for it? And then meanwhile, when bad things are proposed through Congress, the pundit class is like, shh. Of course we can pay for it. Shh. Be quiet.
Is that how they act?
These people are unbelievable. So anyway, but I think Marianne Williamson...
I think no one was really asking these questions when talking about these multi-trillion-dollar economic stimulus plans proposed during and after COVID. And oops, we got inflation. Because no one was asking how you going to pay for it. Yeah, we'll get around to it. Oops. But it's corporate greed's fault for the price increases, right, Kyle? What a goof.
He gives a great answer, so let's watch and we'll break it down.
A great answer.
Go.
How are you going to pay for all that?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Right now, take something like healthcare alone. University of Massachusetts at Amherst has just come up with a study that says over the next 10 years, it would actually save us $5 trillion
This is not an answer.
to have Medicare for all.
Save us $5 trillion.
We now pay about roughly 18.3% of our GDP goes into healthcare. If you look at countries that actually have universal healthcare, which is every other advanced
And how do they pay for it? Huh?
democracy, look at Germany, look at Canada, maybe 10%, maybe 50%.
People in those countries pay a lot more in taxes. So say that, Marianne or Kyle.
The question is, how do we not afford to? Look at what we are paying in healthcare now. We have an...
Let's let that point swirl around our brains a little bit.
It's a non-answer. Kyle.
She asked him, how are you going... he asked her, excuse me, how are you going to pay for it? And her reaction was, how can we not afford to go to Medicare for all? Because...
This brainlet thinks it's a good take. Like, imagine proposing to your family that you want to buy a brand new car. And you're like, well, how are we going to afford a new car? You're like, did you get a raise at work? Well, how can we afford not to buy a new car? Huh?
Really makes you think.
Jesus.
it actually saves $5.1 trillion. That's not me
Are you sure about that?
speaking. That's a detailed study.
A detailed study?
From the University of Massachusetts Amherst.
Has he read that study?
Now, by the way, it's worth it to explore this more. Why does it save so much money? Guys, the answer is very simple. It turns out when you have a rapacious, unnecessary, for-profit mafia middleman...
Oh no, guys, not profits! What's wrong with making profits off of healthcare and health insurance? Huh?
That makes it more expensive. I know, crazy.
Now, he's not wrong to say that, but
if the mafia is getting their cut, it's going to cost you more. And that's what the health insurance industry is.
Now, what he's not mentioning is that a lot of this is because of too much government intervention, which, yeah, has resulted in prices for stuff like insurance, medicine, and healthcare going up. I've talked about that in great detail in a variety of videos over the years. But I would recommend that the solution to this is freeing up the markets in healthcare, insurance, and medicine. And I imagine why a lot of socialist or quote-unquote progressive types don't want to do that is because they see the profit motive as fundamentally evil. As, you know, it's for profit.
Blow it out your ass.
It's a mafia.
It's a mafia.
And
the government shaking you down for more money and imposing price controls throughout the healthcare system. What's that? Huh?
An unnecessary for-profit middleman. In single-payer systems, the single insurer is the government. So you pay in with your taxes, and that money goes out to pay for...
Well, how much do they pay in taxes, huh?
Pay for healthcare for people. There is no profit motive, so they don't need to skim off the top. So it saves $5.1 trillion over a decade. So...
Is he sure about that?
Understand.
So, I have this plan, this study that they're talking about right here. I have not read the whole thing. It's a very long study. It's over 200 pages long. I've read bits and pieces. And I have a good reason to be skeptical of their findings. But one thing, I guess we can start off with this, is this plan actually proposes ways to raise taxes to fund Medicare for all. And you got to wonder why neither Kyle nor his hero, Marianne Williamson, are mentioning these taxes. Why not? If you think this study is the holy grail, if you're going to just blindly take the study at the word, then maybe read the fucking study and see what kind of taxes they propose. But as to the part about reducing costs, which Marianne Williamson claims, like, oh, this is actually going to save us money. This is actually going to save Americans money. I'm not really sold, and you can see that right here. The plan claims, or this report claims that, we already get about $1.8 trillion in funding for Medicare and Medicaid. Keep in mind, this is 2018, probably outdated at this point. And they predict that overall, the program would cost $2.93 trillion. So therefore, you'd only have to raise roughly $1 trillion in extra revenues, which is far less than other studies like the Mercatus study that Bernie Sanders and I'm sure Kyle Kalinske ran with that estimated that it would cost an additional $3.2 trillion a year. This one projects that you'd only need an extra $1 trillion a year. And how they get to this is they assume that a lot of the money would be saved on reducing stuff like administration costs and waste, which they seem to only think it will only reduce by roughly 6%. And it would only reduce it by $300 billion. But the $2.9 trillion figure, we already know that this is incorrect because I just did a video on national healthcare expenditures a few weeks ago where it's currently at $4.3 trillion. And even that report, according to the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, still shows that roughly 1.8 to 1.9 trillion comes from Medicare and Medicaid, which means you would need an additional 2.5 trillion for a year like 2021, not just 1 trillion. And even if you were to take their aggressive cost savings on stuff like administration costs and waste, you'd only cut about $300 billion, in which case you'd still need an extra $2 trillion. So this is the reason why I'm skeptical of the study, because as we've seen over the years, it's not even close to being accurate in its projections. And even the CMS projects that healthcare expenditures will keep increasing every year, as does the Mercatus study report, which is why I think the Mercatus study one is more closer to reality, because its 10-year projections seem to have been more consistent with the annual projections that we have seen. Also with this study, it also suggests a variety of different price controls and price caps, while also making the insane promise that this will not result in stuff like shortages, healthcare shortages, professional shortages, shortages for certain drugs, which is just... And we know this because Medicare, when it was first introduced in the late 1960s, resulted in professional shortages. Now, those shortages were reflected in price increases for non-Medicare recipients. But you can't really jump to that with this plan, because this plan is making the promise that this is actually going to save money on long-term health costs. So they can't raise prices, because they need to impose price controls to get down to this magic, oh, it's only going to be an extra $1 trillion in new revenue sources. Also, we're not going to have any shortages. And it's like, okay, have fun with that, I guess. But again, this plan does appear to propose certain taxes. Business healthcare premiums cut by 8% relative to existing spending per worker. All businesses that now provide healthcare coverage for their employees will be guaranteed to receive proportional benefits during Medicare for All's initial 2 to 3 year operation. Firms that are not offering some or all of their employees would pay $500 per uncovered worker. So businesses will be penalized for not providing their workers with health care benefits, I guess. Oh, I guess small businesses will be exempt from this. All right. So this kind of goes against the common talking point that this will actually save businesses money because they won't have to spend so much money on health insurance because people won't need it because now we have Medicare for all. Yet if businesses still don't provide their employees health benefits, then they'll be penalized, I guess. That's a whole other question I have with this is that, because I'm pretty sure Kyle is one of these buffoons who wants to outlaw private insurance in conjunction with Medicare for all. I know that's Bernie Sanders' position. But if you were to outlaw private insurance and you were to increase taxes across the board, which is what people like Bernie Sanders want to do, because they promise like, oh yeah, you'll be paying more in taxes, but you won't be paying for health insurance. But the way it works now is a lot of workers don't really pay out of pocket for health insurance because it's covered by their employer. Now, if workers start losing those health insurance benefits and on top of that have to pay more of their wages and taxes, well, then it's a lose-lose for a lot of these workers because they're losing their benefits and they're paying more in taxes. So I'm not even sure it will be better for a lot of people, especially if they are receiving a significant proportion of their compensation in the form of health insurance benefits. Not that I'm a fan of the current system. I've been pretty clear about that. I think you can probably trace a lot of the problems with healthcare with the tax incentives that encouraged employers and insurance companies to get in bed with one another. Created a lot of distortions and problems, but again, I think the solution is freeing up the market, not Medicare for all.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
But also, we have a 3.7% sales tax on non-necessities. Who decides what's non-necessity? I guess economic planners.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
This includes exemptions for spending on necessities in 4 areas: food and beverages consumed at home, so I guess not restaurants. Housing and utilities, education, and nonprofits. We also include a 3.75% tax credit for families currently insured through Medicaid. So basically, roughly a 4% nationwide value-added tax, which is, I'm pretty sure this is in Denmark and some of the other Scandinavian countries. I think also maybe in Canada, but keep in mind a lot of localities and states already have a roughly 4 to 10% tax, sales tax, and whatnot. So if you add another 4% on top of that, 4% of everything is going to cost 4% more. Everything is going to cost 4% more going forward. Now, if you're okay with that, fine, but at least, when Kyle gets all mocking and dismissive of, how are you going to pay for it? Be honest, Kyle. This is what you want. You want to charge everyone an extra 4% on what's called non-necessities. A net worth tax of 0.38%. Now, they only proposed this, that it starts after the first $1 million in net worth. Which, kind of sounds good. A lot of people are not worth $1 million, but who might this hit the most, you think? Might hit a lot of older people who are nearing or in retirement, especially if they bought a house 30, 40, 50 years ago, and that house has appreciated a lot over the years. It's especially a big problem in places like California and New York and Washington State. Also, if you've accumulated a lot of money from diligently investing in your retirement, and now your retirement account, your Roth IRA, your 401k is worth north of $1 million, your house is worth more than $1 million, well, guess what, you guys? Now you're going to be penalized for that because we have to pay for Medicare for all. Now, if you're okay with this, maybe Secular Talk is okay with this, well then fine, propose that and see how popular it is, I guess. I think it's insane that we would start, this is essentially a wealth tax, which people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have been lobbying for a while. And, they say, oh, well, it's just going to be on the richest of the rich. Don't worry, this will never apply to you.
Blow it out your ass.
Well, that's how the income tax started. It was initially proposed as, hey, everyone pays for import taxes. That's how the government got a lot of its revenue back in the day, was mostly through import taxes. But hey, if we switch to an income tax, well, we can just make the richest of the rich pay that and still get the same revenue. And, the poor and the middle class, they won't have to pay a thing. And then sooner or later, they started offering generous programs like Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, raising income taxes accordingly. So I guess this is my way of saying, yeah, they might start with a net worth tax to go after the richest of the rich, but who knows? They might come after you. They might start expanding the net worth tax to a net worth of $500,000, $200,000, $100,000, $10,000. Because, hey, it's just a little bit. It's just 0.4%, just 0.38%. If you guys don't believe me, I see this shit happen in Los Angeles, California, every 2 years. The knuckleheads in this state, every 2 years, they see the cost of living is sky high. They see it's hard to stay afloat. They see rampant homelessness. And you know what they do every 2 fucking years to solve these problems? They vote up their fucking taxes. And they just say, oh, it's just a little bit. Just a 0.05% tax on property owners. And this will raise a lot of money. And then we can use this to pay for homelessness programs and education and this and that. So again, if you want a net worth tax, just be honest about it. And then taxing long-term capital gains as ordinary income, which again,